Well, lads, what's the crack, and welcome back to my Champions League predictions. After the international break, it is time for me to predict match week 5 of the Champions League, and as always, I am competing against AA. Now, this match week is definitely, for sure, going to be the biggest match week of the 2025 league phase, because there's not one, not two, not even three, but four blockbuster fixtures coming up between Tuesday and Wednesday of the following week, including one which two of the best teams currently in world football are competing against each other. Lads, this Champions League this week is going to be absolute cinema. And so before we get into this prediction video, like the video, subscribe if you're new, click the bell, share this as many people as possible, leave a comment as well. I really love engagement with you lads, and I really love all the help and support you do give me. And so then lads, let's get into this Champions League predictions for match week 5. Starting off then with Ajax v Benfica here in Amsterdam. And Ajax, man, I'm sorry, they are just terrible at the minute. The Dutch Giants have had a fall from grace, and that is an understatement. I believe halfway through the campaign they are rock bottom of the Champions League phase. They've just lost 2-1 at home to Excelsior in the Eredivisie, and they've got players like Wout Weghorst, Davy Klaassen, and a 42-year-old Remco Pasveer in nets as well. I'm sorry lads, this Ajax team is going absolutely nowhere, and Benfica should be much better under Jose Mourinho. However, you know, in pure Jose Mourinho fashion, he is going to make this one as hard as possible still for Benfica. He's going to find a way to still make this one a tight match. However, even with that, Benfica, they've got the firepower, they've got the quality too, and Ajax are just terrible as well. And so here in this one, Benfica should still win. I'm going to go for a narrow 2-1 victory. It's definitely going to be far too close for Mourinho's liking. However, it's going to be a big 3 points and a well-deserved victory from Benfica here in Amsterdam. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is going to go for a 2-2 draw, but even Ajax can get a draw here at home to Benfica. And now we go to Istanbul as Galatasaray are hosting Union Saint-Gilloise here in this one. Galatasaray last time out would destroy Ajax 3-0 in Amsterdam, and at the minute, like in the Champions League, they've been in some superb form. However, recently, domestically, hasn't gone to plan. They have recently lost 1-0 away to newly promoted side Kocaelispor, and they've also only narrowly just defeated Gensler Berligi, I think their name is, 3-2 on home turf as well. So still a bit shaky as of recently, but here in this one, like, they definitely should still be the favourites. Union Saint-Gilloise last time lost 3-1 with Atletico Madrid, and I mean, it wasn't even their worst performance. They're okay, and I do believe actually they're well capable of making this one a very tight match as well. I think this one's going to be a high scoring one once again. However, it's going to be tight. Galatasaray will make it hard work for themselves at the back line once again. However, their firepower is too good, and that's going to get them a massive 3 points yet again here in this one. Galatasaray to win this one narrowly but massively, 3-2 from the final whistle here in Istanbul. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is also going to go for a narrow victory, however, predicting Galatasaray to win 2-1. Next time we go to Norway for Bodø Glimt hosting Juventus here in this one of Bodø's biggest games in their club's history, hosting a club the size of Juventus. Of course, it's a proud day for the club. However, I do believe they're not there to make them up numbers. They're there to win a football match, and do I believe it's very likely? Yes, especially this time of the year with the climate change up in the Arctic Circle. Of course, Juventus will not be accustomed to that whatsoever, and after a decent enough honeymoon spell for Luciano Spalletti, it's 3 draws in the trot now. Their last game was a 1-1 draw away against a Fiorentina side who are still in the relegation zone of Serie A and are still winless in Serie A this season. So, crack still definitely in that Juventus squad. Still not perfect whatsoever. Bodø Glimt still are a good enough team in my opinion, and I do believe with home advantage too, that's going to help them out big time here. And I believe Bodø Glimt can get a massive victory in their club's history, one of the biggest victories in their club's history. I'm going to back Bodø Glimt to stun the odds here in this one and beat Spalletti's Juve 2-0 come the final whistle here. I think Juve currently out of form. They will not be accustomed to the weather in Norway either, I do believe. That's all going to work to Bodø's advantage here, and Bodø Glimt will turn up in the day. They'll be much better, and we'll get one of their biggest wins in the club's history. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is going to go for Bodø not to lose either, however, believes Juventus are good enough for a 1-1 draw. Next time we've got Borussia Dortmund hosting Villarreal here at the Signal Iduna Park. Now, this one's going to be interesting because we're finally going to find out that Villarreal is going to win the away jersey. Honestly, lads, has anyone actually seen Villarreal wearing a away jersey in your life? I haven't anyway. However, surely here in this one, we are going to have to see them wear an away shirt for the first time in our lives probably. But of course, it's an interesting one. Borussia Dortmund as of recently, I don't think they've won in their last 5 matches at least anyway. They're scoring loads of goals, however, are also conceding loads of goals. Meanwhile, Villarreal have actually been in pretty decent form as of recently, very steady, good few wins in the trot of course. And so here in this one, I do believe it is going to be very tight, very hard to call. However, Dortmund on home turf are going to be a hard side to to beat, obviously. And although Villarreal can definitely get something from this one, I do believe Dortmund have got a good enough firepower there. A couple of brilliant forwards such as Gilloise, Maxi Bayer, Karim Adeyemi, Julian Brandt, etc. And I believe the firepower there is going to get Borussia Dortmund a big 3 points here in this one. I'm going to back Dortmund and narrowly win this one 2-1 from the final whistle here in Germany. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is going to go for a Dortmund win also, however, is going to go for the more comfortable 3-1 margin. And now then we hit one of the 4 big blockbuster matches, and it takes us to Stamford Bridge here in this one. It is Chelsea welcoming the Catalans, FC Barcelona here in this one. Lads, this game definitely for me could be absolute cinema. Barcelona should be the favourites in my opinion, just very slightly, because they're a bit less injury riddled than Chelsea. Yes, Pedri and Gavi are both injured, but still they've got Lewandowski, they've got Lamine Yamal too. Rafinha's back, I do believe, as well. Marcus Rashford should be back as well too. So apart from Pedri, they are pretty much full strength. Meanwhile for Chelsea, there are missing players like Cole Palmer, however. Like João Pedro will be available, Pedro Neto, Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez in midfield. Liam Delap even too probably will get a match in this one, and I believe Delap definitely can do bits here in this one too. So I'm actually really looking forward to this one here. Barcelona usually do struggle at Stamford Bridge in past number of matches they played there. The only time in my memory anyway that they've managed to get a big result there which benefits them was after the match where they supposedly paid off the refs there in the Champions League semi-final, and to be fair, they probably did pay off the refs that one with the Iniesta last minute winner, of course. So Chelsea for sure definitely could be up for this one, of course. There is a bit of spice, I do believe, around the fixture too. It's going to be interesting to see players like Lamine Yamal playing against a big Premier League team in Chelsea too. So I'm really looking forward to this one, lads. Really, really excited for this one here. However, who do I believe is going to come out on top? And you know what, lads? I don't think either team's going to come out on top here in this one. I'm going to go for an entertaining 2-2 draw on the final whistle. Neither side will do enough to get a victory here, but regardless, it's going to be a very entertaining match of football. I believe Chelsea will play very good in the day. They've definitely asked big questions of Barcelona, and I believe Barcelona will be a bit complacent at times. Chelsea's intensity and the home atmosphere is going to drive them to a big point here on home turf. I'm going to say then Chelsea 2, Barcelona 2 will be a very good result, very fair result, and definitely proving once again that Barcelona do struggle at Stamford Bridge. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is confident that Barcelona will get a result here in this one, going for an 2-1 away win for the Catalans. Staying in England now, but we go to the Ajax Stadium next as Manchester City are hosting Bayer Leverkusen here in this one. City last time out in the Premier League would lose 2-1 away to Newcastle. They're really not the best result, of course. Not a good result whatsoever there, with Harvey Barnes scoring a brace there within 7 minutes, even right after Ruben Diaz looked to have equalised there for Man City. So City definitely will be looking big time to get back on track here. Leverkusen, however, have actually been in very good form as of recently. They've won 3 games on the bounce, including the 1-0 victory away to Benfica last time in the Champions League as well. Although City, I do believe, still, however, are a very good team. Last time in the Champions League, they would defeat a fellow German side at home, Borussia Dortmund, 4-1. So I do believe still City with players like Erling Haaland and Phil Foden in good form as well are still too good in this one here, and I do believe City will get a big victory here. It's not going to be the most comfortable victory, however. I do believe Leverkusen will look okay, and so City in the end will get a pretty comfortable 2-0 victory here. Leverkusen will play decent for the most part, however City will have the fair power and will get a big 3 points on home turf here. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is going to go for a much more entertaining and closer affair, predicting City to win 3-2. And now we go to the Velodrome, and once again, lads, this is a match which definitely is very mouth-watering, as Marseille hosting the Magpies Newcastle here in this one. And as we've just mentioned, of course, Newcastle off the back of a 2-1 win at home to Man City with a Harvey Barnes brace, a player who is in insane form at the minute, of course. I mean, that definitely is going to go a long way for them coming into this one here. However, in my opinion, this match is going to be excruciatingly hard. Not only is Marseille currently in brilliant form, they won their last match, they're 5-1 on Friday night too, and they're currently still in hunting tail race too, with players like Greenwood, Aubameyang, Paixão, Timothy Weah, all in brilliant form. But of course, Newcastle fans have been put on high alert, of course, because Marseille fans reportedly very dangerous, will be very hostile here in this one, and so this atmosphere too is going to be purely hostile too. And in my opinion, Newcastle may very well struggle in that, and so I'm really looking forward to seeing how Eddie Howe's Magpies do cope with that. However, you know what, lads, forget about the City win. Are Newcastle still in good form? No. I mean, yes, maybe the City game is a turning point. Maybe they can get a result here in this one. I mean, I wouldn't be too surprised whatsoever. However, this Marseille side is a very good side, and I still do believe Newcastle have loads of defensive errors. I think that Nick Pope still isn't very poor form. Yet again, he's still a very big liability there. Botman isn't the best form. Dan Burn isn't in the best form either, of course. And in my opinion, like Marseille at the minute are just much better form, and their firepower is too lethal here. I'm going to say Marseille will destroy Newcastle here all over the pitch, and we'll get a fantastic 3-1 victory come the final whistle, bringing Newcastle fans right back down to earth after their Man City win. It's going to be another difficult night in Europe for Newcastle. However, Marseille will prove once again that they're not a side to be reckoned with whatsoever. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is going to go for a 2-2 draw here, believing Newcastle are good enough for a point here in the south of France. And now we go to the Czech Republic next. Slavia Prague are hosting Athletic Club here in this one. Athletic Club at the minute, lads, are in very, very poor form. Last time out, they would lose 4-0 away to Barcelona in the first ever match back at the Camp Nou as well. And I mean, yes, there's no shame in losing to Barcelona, but still, it's been one win in their past 5 matches across all competitions. That only win came in an hour 1-0 win at home to Real Oviedo. So, like, at the minute, like, they're just not playing good whatsoever. Slavia Prague, in my opinion, are still a decent enough team. I think they've got a big win in them in this Champions League campaign. And in my opinion, lads, up against an Athletic Club side who aren't playing good whatsoever at the minute, I do believe this is their chance here. So you know what, lads, I'm going to go for a stunning result here. I'm going to back Slavia Prague to upset the odds and defeat Athletic Club 2-1 on home turf here, as Athletic Club's poor form will continue as they give the Czech side their first 3 points in the Champions League this season. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is going to go for a 1-1 draw, believing Athletic Club are good enough for a point away from home here in Prague. And finishing off the Tuesday night fixtures in the Champions League in Naples, as Napoli are welcoming Qarabag from Azerbaijan here in this one. Now listen, on paper this one should be an easy Napoli victory. However, as of recently, the goals have sort of dried up. I know they defeated Atalanta 3-1 last time out in the Serie A, but apart from that game, the goals have sort of dried up for Napoli. And I mean, players like Kevin De Bruyne currently out and long-term injuries as well. That's not going to help them whatsoever either. And Qarabag, as of recently in the Champions League, have been fantastic. And last time out would draw 2-2 at home to Chelsea. So Qarabag are not a side to take lightly whatsoever either. And so here, that's what I'm going to say. Even though they're without their number one choice goalkeeper, I do believe they're going to keep a very tight ship here in this one. However, Napoli still will have enough in the tank to win this one on home turf. Although it's going to be a very narrow 1-0 victory. Not convincing whatsoever from Antonio Conte's side. However, they'll get 3 points in this one. Qarabag will play fantastic here in this one. However, they'll not be able to get a result, and Napoli will take all 3 points here in the Champions League. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is much more confident that Napoli can score goals here in this one, going for a massive 4-0 victory come the final whistle here. And now, starting off Wednesday night, we go to Denmark as FC Copenhagen are welcoming Kairat Almaty here in this one. Obviously, once again, an interesting one. FC Copenhagen, so far this season, it's not been good whatsoever. Very, very poor start of the season for the Danes. Meanwhile, for Kairat last time out, it was a very positive result in the Champions League. They only lost 2-1 away to Inter Milan, which, I mean, for a team who made the Champions League final last season, that is a very impressive result for the team from Kazakhstan, obviously. However, the main downfall for Kairat Almaty, in my opinion, is their domestic season is now wrapped up. And now, maybe that could be seen as a good thing because they're much more well rested than other teams. However, it can also be seen as a bad thing because there's no momentum behind them. There is literally no momentum, and so that definitely could kill many hopes of them maybe getting a result here and there in the Champions League. Only time will tell, of course, but if there is a game where they can get a result in, this is the one, because FC Copenhagen as of recently have been very poor. However, Copenhagen are on home turf here in this one at the Park Inn. There should be a good atmosphere, and so I'm going to back Copenhagen to win this one 2-1 come the final whistle. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is going to go for a more comfortable 2-0 win for the Danes here in this one. And now next we go to Cyprus, or Pafos hosting AS Monaco here in this one. Pafos last time out got an historic 1-0 victory at home to Villarreal last time in the Champions League. A massive, massive result, the biggest in their club's history. Meanwhile for Monaco, yes, they defeated Bodø Glimt 1-0 last time away from home. However, it's been back-to-back 4-1 defeats in Ligue 1. Currently, Monaco are a side off form. However, we could be seeing the return of Paul Pogba to the Champions League stage in this one, which should be very, very interesting to say the least. And so Monaco currently in poor form, but still have a good team on paper. So I'm going to say this one will actually be very tight. Pafos will do all they can here in this one. I think they've got a very big chance here, Pafos, in getting another big result. However, I do believe Monaco will bounce back from poor results domestically, and I'm going to say they get a very narrow 1-0 victory from the final whistle here in Cyprus. Pafos will play amazingly. However, I'm going to say in this one that Monaco have the firepower and the quality to get a narrow 1-0 win from the final whistle. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is going to go for a 2-1 win for Monaco away from home, just about getting the job done as well. And now we reach our second blockbuster fixture, and it definitely for me is the biggest of all. It is currently the two best teams in world football competing against each other. It's at the Emirates Stadium as the Gunners Arsenal are welcoming Bayern Munich here in this one. Lads, this game is going to be absolute cinema. I cannot wait for it, of course. Arsenal have just defeated Spurs 4-1 in the North London derby. I bracket it as a hat-trick. Oh, it's just an insane performance. And even without players like Gabriel Magalhaes, Victor Gyökeres, etc. as well. So it's just insane. There, Martin Odegaard missing as well. For in this game, those losses, Arsenal maybe could afford to have them losses and those injuries against a team like Spurs who are currently in terrible form. But against Bayern Munich, you get punished for those injuries, of course. And so that is my main worry at the minute for Arsenal. Bayern Munich lost him out. It was a bit of a shaky start. They went 2-0 down at home to Freiburg. So what do they do? They win the game 6-2. However, Bayern Munich still do have their own injury woes. Jamal Musiala obviously has been out for a very long time. Luis Diaz is suspended here in this one, among other players here currently missing as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what way this game does go. Even though Arsenal are currently missing out loads of players, I do believe still they're well capable of getting the big result here in this one. Same can be said for Bayern Munich too. However, Bayern Munich still very good players in there. Harry Kane back in North London too. He's going to look to avenge Spurs just a couple of days after their annihilation in the North London derby. And do I think Harry Kane is going to get that vengeance? Yes, I do. I'm going to back Bayern Munich to win this one. 3-2 from the final whistle. Arsenal will fall to their second defeat of the season, their first defeat in the Champions League, and they can see their first few goals in the Champions League this season as well. Simply, lads, I think a couple of big injuries in there, especially with Gabriel and Odegaard, are not going to do Arsenal any favours, and I believe currently Bayern Munich under Vincent Kompany are the best team in world football. Harry Kane has been in insane form all season, and yes, Diaz is missing, of course, but still they've got fantastic quality players in that side, a couple of very good youngsters too, and in my opinion their defence is very underrated as well, with Jonathan Tah and Dayot Upamecano both in the centre back pair too. So in my opinion, lads, Arsenal, they've got every chance here in this one to win this one. I think they're going to make this one a very entertaining affair here at the Emirates. However, Bayern Munich still have Arsenal's number, and in my opinion, they're going to win this one 3-2 from the final whistle and an absolute blockbuster of a match here at the Emirates. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is going to go for a more comfortable 3-1 win for Bayern Munich, as me and ChatGPT both predicting Arsenal to lose on home turf. And from one blockbuster game to another, this time we go to the Metropolitano in Spain. It's Atletico Madrid hosting Inter Milan here in this one. And for me, this game is going under the radar. This is a very underrated fixture in my opinion. Two teams who, are just pure football teams, obviously. Diego Simeone, a tactical mastermind. Inter Milan, of course, a pure footballing team. This one's actually going to be a very interesting one, lads, to watch. Atletico Madrid's brilliant defence, and Inter Milan, of course, brilliant defence as well. Two teams with brilliant defences. Meanwhile, Atletico Madrid in the forward line, Griezmann and Alvarez going up against the likes of Lautaro Martinez, Marcus Thuram, even Boni as well, who's been in brilliant form as of recently too. Inter Milan, however, before this match are playing Derby Della against AC Milan, so that game definitely could take a lot out of them. But then again, Atletico Madrid are taking on Harambal Getafe, so this game is going to be very interesting, lads. It's going to be another very interesting one. It's a big shame this game's on at the same time as Arsenal and Bayern, because you would love to watch both those matches. However, you're only going to have to pick one, of course. So yeah, still though, this game is going to be very intriguing to see what the final result is going to be. But who do I think is going to come out on top here? That team for me is going to be Diego Simeone's Atletico Madrid. I'm going to back Atletico to win this one. 2-1 from the final whistle. I think they're going to have a defensive mastermind here in this one. Julian Alvarez will play fantastic. Griezmann will play fantastic too. I think overall Atletico's attack is going to outscore and just attack here in this one. Quite literally, I do believe here. I think they're just going to have that bit more going forward. That is ultimately what is going to be the decisive factor. That alongside the fact that I think the Derby Della will take a lot of Inter Milan, especially considering AC Milan are not in Europe either. So yeah, I mean, then again, Inter could easily get a result here in this one, but I do believe Atletico will have enough in this one, and we'll get a fantastic 3 points on home turf and a massive match at home to Inter Milan here. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is going to go for an interesting 2-2 draw here, but even neither side will be separated here at the Metropolitano. Next time we go to Eintracht Frankfurt hosting Atalanta here in Germany. Once again, should be interesting. Frankfurt lost him out, would defeat FC Cologne 4-3 on Saturday night, obviously, but apart from that match, the goals have sort of dried up. Both when they're scoring goals and conceding goals. They're getting better defensively, but also getting a bit worse going forward. That was quite the opposite against Cologne. But if you look at their previous 5 fixtures, that sort of has been the current trend with Frankfurt, of course. Meanwhile, for Atalanta, last time out in the Champions League, it was a 1-0 win away to Marseille. Fantastic victory there. And I believe last time they lost 3-1 to Napoli. But still, in my opinion, they're very well capable of getting a result here. Even though I don't think they're going to win this one, I don't think they're good enough to win this one. I do believe Atalanta are good enough to get a result here. So you know what, lads? I'm going to say Atalanta will hold Frankfurt to a 1-1 draw in the final whistle. Neither side will be good enough to win this one here, so I believe a draw will be the fair result here. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is going to go for the home side Frankfurt to get a win. Now already 2-1 here in home turf. Now we go to Anfield next. It's Liverpool hosting PSV Eindhoven here in this one. And Liverpool, Arne Slot's Liverpool, the gift that keeps on giving. 3-0 loss at home to Nottingham Forest last time out. It's just comical. It's absolutely comical. However, unfortunately in the Champions League, that banter form is not translating, because last time in the Champions League they defeated Real Madrid 1-0 at Anfield, and an absolutely insanely good performance there under Arne Slot, obviously. So even though they're currently in very poor form in the Premier League, in the Champions League they're still winning games left, right and centre. And yes, PSV this season, I know they've been very good. They're winning games left, right and centre in the Eredivisie, and even getting good results in the Champions League too. However, Liverpool still have the firepower, they've got the quality still too as well, and they're still performing in the Champions League. And so here in this one, I do believe Liverpool will get a big 2-0 victory in the final whistle. Nothing too convincing, nothing too special. However, Arne Slot's side will get the job done here pretty comfortably in home turf against the Dutch outfit. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is going to agree with me here in this one, predicting a 3-1 win this time for Liverpool on home turf. Next, then we go to Greece for Olympiacos welcoming Los Blancos Real Madrid here, and it's been a massive day, an occasion for Olympiacos. Meanwhile, for Real Madrid, obviously, it's going to be interesting to see how they get on, how they bounce back from defeat at Anfield last time in the Champions League, and I do believe they should definitely bounce back in this one. I mean, Olympiacos, no harm to them, nothing too special there that can compete against a team like Real Madrid in my opinion. And so here in this one, I'm going to say that Real will get a comfortable victory. Nothing too special, but they'll get goals in this one. They will concede a goal, but I'm going to say they'll win this one 3-1 come the final whistle. It's just going to be a routine victory here for Xabi Alonso's side, an easy fashion come the final whistle here in Paris. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is going to go for a tighter 2-1 victory, however also predicting Real Madrid to get the job done. And now here we are, lads, the fourth and final blockbuster fixture coming up in the Champions League this midweek, and it takes us to Paris, the Parc des Princes. PSG are welcoming Spurs here in this one. And I tell you what, if you look back to the start of the season in the Super Cup, Spurs were 2-0 up against PSG. Yes, the battle that finished 2-2, PSG won the Super Cup on a penalty shootout, but Spurs should have won that one there, and they were fantastic tactically and on the pitch too. They were perfect there in that one, and we're so unlucky to have conceded 2 late goals. However, that Spurs team is completely different to the current Spurs team, because they've got half their squad injured once again. Year after year it happens, and it's happened once again this year, and they've just been absolutely annihilated away from home against their North London rivals too, at a ground which they haven't won at in 15 years. So at the minute, they're just not looking good whatsoever. They're leaking goals in left, right and centre. Their attack is very inconsistent too. They're creating very little in big games as well. And then here in this one, PSG last time out would defeat Le Havre 3-0 in home turf and have 31 shots registered as well. I mean, I'm sorry, lads, PSG are going to do unspeakable things with the current Spurs side. It's going to be a thrashing here in this one as PSG destroys Spurs on Thomas Frank's side. 4-0 in the final whistle. I'm sorry, lads. Spurs are done for here in this one with their current form. And up against the proper side like PSG, I cannot even imagine what's going to happen to the West side here. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is going to agree with me, however, going for a much more narrow 2-1 win for PSG on home turf. And finishing off Matchweek 5 of the Champions League with Sporting Club de Portugal hosting Club Brugge here in this one. Once again, should be entertaining, of course. I do believe 2 very entertaining sides taking on each other here. Sporting, as of recently, have been in very good form. Meanwhile, for Club Brugge, maybe not in the best form, however, last time out in the Champions League, they would draw 3-all at home to Barcelona, and an absolutely amazing performance there in Belgium. A match that they should have won too, and they actually scored a last minute winner, and however the goal unfortunately will be disallowed. But Carlos Forbes, watch it for him, lads, the Portuguese winger returning to his homeland here. However, he could definitely run right here in this one. However, will Club Brugge win this one here? I don't think so. I think Sporting on home turf, that's going to get the job done here in this one, as they get a big 2-1 victory from the final whistle here at home to the very good Belgian side. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is going to go for a more comfortable 2-0 victory for the home side here. Anyway, lads, I'm going to end it as Champions League predictions for Match Week 5. I hope you have enjoyed it. What do you think about my predictions? Are they good or are they bad? What would you change? Let me know in the comments below. As always, lads, remember to like the video, subscribe if you're new, click the bell, share this with as many people as possible, leave a comment, of course, too. And, of course, lads, I'll see you all in the next one here on KDFG.